Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome everyone to our night session of The Slight Edge. We've been reading this book by Jeff Olson since day before, and we just kind of begun. So without further ado, let's just start this wonderful book and get on to the concepts today. Okay, Shubhra, you are not muted, so I'm going to mute everybody. All right. Here we are. Now, today we're going to understand what is the slight edge all about and understand the theory and then practicality of this. So, origin of the slight edge. Now, this concept, if we apply in our life, we are really going to have a slight edge over everything that we do. It's very, very promising and it's very, very amazing. So, let's understand this concept. Over the years, many people have asked me how the slight edge was conceived. It began when the book was only a concept. To flesh it out, I went to the Mountain Shadow Resort in Phoenix to get away by myself and spent a weekend listening to Jim Rohn and other legendary personal development icons. Soon, I started to see an overall philosophy develop from all that I read and heard that weekend. I didn't have a name for it. I couldn't write down in words what it meant at that time. The best way to convey it was to simply draw it out. So if you see this diagram, it's very beautifully articulated. So easy to do, simple disciplines made consistently over time. Now, we all know, we heard and we also may have practiced. अगर हम disciplined हों life में and consistent हों, इस समय करना है और रोज 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 करना है, then what's going to happen? अगर हमारे अंदर responsibility है, discipline है और value driven है हम, we know these are the principles I want to work with. For example, मेरी values अगर है कि मुझे business करते वक्त किसी की cheating नहीं करना, किसी का पैसा नहीं मारना, और मैं responsibility के साथ अपना business करती हूँ with discipline. इतने बजे ऑफिस जाना है, इतने बजे फैक्ट्री में काम करना है, इतने बजे वेंडर से मिलना है, इतने बजे पेमेंट करनी है. So I am responsible and I'm disciplined and I'm value driven. Now understand this. 5% success जो progressive realization होती है of a worthy idea. Talking about एक realization जिसके धीरे धीरे हम उसको develop करते हैं एक अच्छे idea को. What's uncomfortable early becomes comfortable later. शुरुआत में कुछ भी चीज नया करते हैं, so there's a barrier, there's a hesitation. Can I do this? Can I not do this? Is it possible for me? Is it not possible for me? But if we start doing it, shuru mein it'll be difficult. Gradually, it'll become a bit easy. Little later, it'll become more easier. And after a while, it'll be an autopilot. Just the way shuru mein humne toothbrush shuru kiya tha bachpan mein. Our parents taught us it is too much of work. Today, we wake up in the morning and we have to brush our teeth, right? Now, philosophy defines your attitude. Attitude defines your actions. Actions, results, and then lifestyle. Lifestyle में हमेशा 5 facets होते हैं हम सबकी लाइफ के लिए. सबसे पहला फाइनेंस. सबसे पहला फाइनेंस क्यों लिखा है? बिना पैसे के कुछ भी पॉसिबल नहीं. आज हम घर में रहते हैं, बिजली है, पानी है, घर है, खाना है, सब पैसे से ही आता है. सो बिना पैसे के आपका जीवन नहीं चल सकता. Our life can't go on. So finance is the first. Second, health. कितना मनी हो और अगर हेल्थ ही नहीं हो एंजॉय करने के लिए, what's the point? So health is second most important. Third is business. फाइनेंस अगर सपोज आपके पास रखा हुआ है, आपको इनहेरिट किया है, कुछ रखा हुआ है, बट अगर करंट लेवल पे आपका कोई बिजनेस नहीं है, तो हाउ विल द मनी गेट जनरेटेड? बिजनेस को आप वर्क से भी इक्वेट कर सकते हैं. नंबर 4 जो बहुत लोग भूल जाते हैं, बट आप लोग ध्यान में दे रहे हैं, दैट्स व्हाई यू आर हियर इन द नाइट. पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट. If we genuinely want to really grow in life, 10% of our day should be going into personal development. alternatively 10% of our year. So some people can't give daily. Maybe month may you plan accordingly. Month may you say, okay, that 30 days, 3 days के लिए मुझे retreat पे जाना है या personal development में करना है. 3 full days is only about myself. That also works. Or some people say, okay, in 3 months, I'm going to go for a 10-day retreat. That also works. What are you working at? Personal development is very important. दिन में time देने से आज हम मे बी अपना 10% of time नहीं दे रहे, but at least हम जो लोग morning evening कर रहे हैं, with at least giving an hour and a half, which is great, which is wonderful. उसको ना technically आप उठे रहते हो 12 घंटे के लिए, I mean, so 12 से 16 घंटे के लिए आप 16 घंटे का 10% हुआ 1 घंटा 1.5 घंटा, and that's what they're already doing. So personal development is extremely important. जहां कोई कोर्स मिले practical हो करना, please enroll. It's very important. And number 5 में इन्होंने दिया है relationships. This is the slight edge author Jeff Olson's view. Now, what's comfortable early becomes uncomfortable later. क्यों ऐसा होता है? शुरू में हम बड़ा कंफर्टेबल है, हम हाँ रे हाँ 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 हाँ, बाद में कंफर्ट डिस्कम्फर्ट लगना. क्यों? बिकॉज आपने रॉन्ग जजमेंट करा. सिंपल एरर्स इन जजमेंट मेड ओवर टाइम. रिपीटेडली आपने गलती करी बिकॉज आपने क्या पाथ चूज किया जो आसान था करना, और उससे क्या होता है 95% फेलियर आता है. So anyways, we'll understand this more when you read about this, but do keep this diagram in mind. You all have the PDFs. If you want, draw it out. If you want, take a printout. If you want, take a screenshot. Save it because ye kaam aayega aapke. Once on paper, I came back home and drew it out on my office whiteboard to further flesh out the concept. From this crude drawing, I started to teach it out on the road, and it soon became known as a slight edge. Everywhere I went, people wanted me to give the slight edge speech. My next task was to get it out of my head and onto paper so people could read it whenever they wanted. I wrote the first 120 pages, and then life got busy, and the unfinished manuscript sat on my credenza for years. Eventually, I carved out the time to finish it. What I'm about to say next is going to surprise you. I was never trying to create a bestseller with a slight edge. I was simply trying to get it out of my brain and onto paper as fast as I could, so people would stop hounding me about it. This way, I could point to the book without having to explain the entire philosophy. First, I sent the book out to a few friends who wanted it, thinking that would be it. But I received more calls from more friends telling me how much they got out of reading the book, which I laughed at. I discounted much of what they were saying because they were my close friends and I figured they were just being supportive. But then I started getting calls from people who had received the book from my close friends, and it mushroomed from there. All this time, others were telling me this, but I was too busy to notice. That's when it hit me that we were onto something. However, my daughter would say the day she knew we were onto something was when she saw the slight edge listed on ABC's website as the Bachelorette contestant. Roberto Martinez's favorite book. When he went on to win the show and Ali's heart, she called me and said, the slight edge even helps you win reality TV shows. In all seriousness, the amazing thing, we hardly promoted the book. In fact, it never had wide distribution because it could only be purchased by calling a 1-800 number. By simple word of mouth, the book has exploded at a grassroots level, completely organic. And now that we have seen how it is affecting so many lives, I want to make it better, to take it to the next level. And if it wasn't for my daughter Amber pushing me to bring some of these stories and testimonials to life, this revised edition wouldn't exist. She was a driving force behind this project and pushed me to make this book even better than it already is. The book that started it all. The message I want to get across this book is real. Over the years, people have shared with me how the slight edge was working in their life. I told them to give me their business card with the topic either finances, health, sport, etc. on the back, and we would call them to get the story in writing. Let's just say I didn't do a very good job in calling these wonderful people back. Amber finally volunteered to call these people when she saw the drawers spilling over with business cards of people anxious to share their stories. Again, I want to thank my daughter for finding the time to call these wonderful people and to personally thank them for sharing with me the stories you're about to read. I would be remiss if I didn't give credit to the time period when the Slight Edge debuted. Personal development sections of bookstores exploded in the 90s, and we were a part of the exciting time. People had finally begun to ask themselves, what am I doing with my life? I want something more. Today, we are experiencing a similar revival. In times of economic distress, people try to prioritize what's most important to them and they want to be educated in how to get ahead. I tell you all this so before I start explaining the slight edge philosophy, you get to see how I came to understand the slight edge and how these principles have stood the test of times by themselves, with or without my influence, and have enabled people to accomplish amazing things. The principles you're about to learn are time tested, and it's my deepest desire that you will embrace them to the fullest. As a way to thank all the readers, this revision is dedicated to all the past, present, and future readers of the Slight Edge. All we have done is plant the seed. You are the ones who have watered and cultivated it to be what it is today. Thank you, says Jeff Olson. Now, all of us know we're reading the revised edition. It is also on the cover that we see every day when we log in the session. So, in this revised edition, we have meticulously gone through each chapter and expanded it with new stories, as well as updates based upon observation of the slight edge principles over the last 5 years. There's a new chapter in this edition called Seven Slight Edge Principles. It's a collection of specific, actionable principles and characteristics that will help you in applying the slight edge philosophy, which part two of the book is about all about. It's a good foundation on which to start your own personal development journey, all the while creating a positive ripple effect by one action that creates several positive reactions. The one thing I am most excited about in this revised edition is a chance to share with you the stories of many readers of The Slight Edge. We have received thousands of amazing stories from readers explaining how The Slight Edge has helped them with their personal relationships, finances, business, health, and life pursuits just by injecting the Slight Edge philosophy into their lives. The results have created a ripple effect, having a lasting impact on everyone they meet. Their stories explain the principles and real life applications far better than I ever could. I hope you will be moved by their stories as much as I was. My daughter Amber contributed a section addressing the next generation of the readers of Slight Edge. She has grown up with a slight edge and knows the importance of getting the information into the hands of young people to help them understand the choices they make today that will affect the rest of their lives. Through my father and others, I have seen the impact of a lifetime full of right and wrong decisions and where they lead you. I am forever grateful to have had the slight edge philosophy instilled in me at a young age by my parents, because I was able to end up on the positive side of the slight edge curve by being aware that the choices I make on a daily basis matters, says Amber Olson. Again, it's a reminder for all of us. रोज हमें opportunities मिलती हैं to choose. Now, if we every single day, what choice are we making makes a big difference on how our future will shape up or how our tomorrow will shape up. Dr. Jeff Olson says, I am excited and honored to announce a brand new Slight Edge online community, an additional resource that gives readers a slight edge, a voice to share their experiences with other like minded individuals, as well as share resources and slight edge tips encourage and support one another, and experience additional life enriching information. Please come experience the Slight Edge community at www.slightedge.org. I look forward to seeing you there. For those of you who are interested in keeping on developing and being motivated, nothing like having a community. Like right now, we are also a little tiny community who are reading this book, right? Imagine when hundreds and hundreds of people are sharing their stories on a daily level about how the slight edge philosophy they applied in their lives and how it made them into better versions of themselves. So it definitely will be inspirational. If you want to join, please go ahead and join. We'll start with this chapter, namely the three stories. The water hyacinth. The water hyacinth is a beautiful, delicate looking little plant. Prized as an ornament, it sports six petal flowers ranging from a lovely purplish blue to lavender to pink. You can find it floating on the surface of ponds in warm climates around the world. The water hyacinth is also one of the most productive plants on earth. Its reproductive rate astonishes botanists and ecologists. Although a single plant can produce as many as 5,000 seeds, the method it prefers for colonizing a new area is to grow by doubling itself, sending out shorter runner stems that become daughter plants. If a pond surface is fairly still and undisturbed, the water hyacinth may cover the entire pond in 30 days. On the first day, you won't even notice it. In fact, for the first few days, you will have to search very hard to find it. On day 15, it will cover perhaps a single square foot of the pond surface, a barely significant dollop of color dotting the expanse of placid green. On the 20th day, two-thirds of the way to the end of the month, you may happen to notice a dense little patch of floating foliage, about the size of a small mattress. You could be easily forgiven if you mistook it for a boy's inflatable life raft left behind during a family picnic. On day 29, one half of the pond surface will be open water. On the 30th day, the entire pond will be covered by a blanket of water hyacinth. You will not see water at all. Do you see? When we keep working, शुरू में नहीं रिजल्ट आता है, हम बोलते हैं we tend to give up कि अरे मेरे रिजल्ट नहीं आ रहा, नहीं रिजल्ट नहीं आ रहा. But all the people who are so successful now began small sometime. And they kept working, but diligently, religiously, with discipline, with virtues, with values. And in the end, the result becomes super duper duper fast. So this is what another edge for slight edge will be. The second story is about two frogs. One night, two frogs left the safety of their swamp and ventured into a nearby farm to explore. They soon found themselves in a dairy, hopping and jumping around. Frogs will be frogs, after all. They jumped into a milk pail half full of cream. At first, they were both thrilled. They had never tasted anything so delicious. They drank and drank. Soon after, some contented frog belches followed by much giggling. They were both full bellied and getting just a bit sleepy. Time to get out of here and head back to the swamp for some shut eye, burped the first frog. But there was a problem. They'd had no trouble hopping in. But how to hop out? The inside of the pail was too slippery to climb, and there was nothing on which they could place their feet for traction to get up a good hopping distance or any hopping distance at all. This awful reality dawned on them. They were trapped. Frantic, they began to thrash about, the little frog feet scrambling for a foothold on the elusive, slippery curve of the pail's edge. Finally, the second frog cried out, "It's no use. We are doomed, my brother. Let us save what dignity we have left and die here like frogs with our eyes facing our homeland." The first frog cried out to stop him. "No, we should never give up. When we were tadpoles, which one of us would ever have dreamt that someday we would emerge from the and hop about on land? swim on and pray for a miracle. The second frog and eyed his brother sadly and said, there are no miracles in the life of a frog, brother. Farewell. And so saying, he turned his face in the direction of the swamp, gave a sigh, and slowly sank out of sight. But the first frog refused to give up. He continued to swim. He swam and he swam in ridiculous, pointless, useless, futile circles, hoping against hope for a miracle. Fired by adrenaline, he paddled mightily, yet his brother's dying words clutched at his thoughts, even more insidious than the growing fatigue that tugged at his weakening muscles. Was my brother right? He thought desperately. Am I a fool? Are there no miracles in the life of a frog? Finally, he could swim no more, and with a great cry of anguish, he stopped paddling and let go, ready at last to face his fate like a frog. But something odd then happened, or rather, didn't happen. He didn't sink. He just sat exactly where he was. Ever so tentatively, he stretched out a foot, and it touched something solid. He heaved a big sigh, both sad and grateful, and a silent farewell to his drowned brother, then scrambled up and to top of the big lump of butter he had just finished churning, and hopped out of the pail and to off the swamp, alone but alive. Isn't this a remarkable story of grit, determination, courage, and hope? If the first brother was hopeless, he said, we are doomed and nothing can happen. He just gave in. And look at this little one. If only we were so hopeful, so committed, wouldn't we have the slight edge is something that all of us should think about. It's 6:21. So would you like to continue the story? It's about 5 pages. Or should we close it and do a meditation? Because 9:30 is when the session goes. So if you can tell me on the chat box, I'm comfortable if you want to read instead of meditate. And if you want to meditate and sleep, I'm good with that too. Whatever works for you. So one person says continue. If another person says continue, we can continue. If they're short chapters, so if you want, we can continue and start with the new chapter tomorrow. Okay, I haven't heard from anybody, which means they'd like to meditate or continue. All right, there I got a clue. All right, the choice. Oh, this is the third story in this chapter. The choice. A wealthy man nearing the end of his days summoned his twin sons to his bedside. Before he died, he told them he wanted to pass on to them the opportunity to experience the richness of life that he had enjoyed for his many years on earth. If I could do so, I would give you both the world, he told his boys. But this is not possible, for even I do not own the entire world and everything in it. But there are three treasures I've had the good fortune to experience in my life, and it is my fondest wish, my dying wish, that you would both have these three treasures. The first gift is easy to give and never runs out. I have been giving it to you both since you were born, and die in peace, knowing that you both already have it in abundance. The second gift is easy to give, but not always easy to have. For some, it never runs out, while for others, it constantly runs out. This gift is, I give you now, but whether or not you keep it will be up to you. The third gift is impossible to give, but can only be gained. I have been showing it to you both your entire lives, but can't say whether or not you have gained it. This gift I can't give you, but I can give you an opportunity to see it one last time before I die. The boys both wept to hear their father speak of his approaching death, but he smiled and bade them hush with a wave of his hand. I see your grief, but in this grief you may be happy, for it is evidence of the first gift which you have in abundance. Do you know what the first gift is? The two boys dried their tears and furrowed their brows in deep thought. Easy to give, and it never runs out. Suddenly, the first boy clapped his hands and said, Love. The first gift is love. The father smiled. The boy was right. And the second gift, he asked? They again became quiet with thought. Easy to give, but not always easy to have. The second boy looked up with a start. Money. Is the second gift money? It was indeed. For some, it never runs out, while for others, it constantly runs out. The father asked, and the third? Impossible to give and can only be gained. This time, both boys remained buried in thought. Neither could come up with an answer. The father smiled again, a little sadly this time. He lifted a beautiful lacquer box from the bedside table onto his lap, opened it, and looked inside. I offer you both a choice. He beckoned the boys to move closer. 1 month from today, you both will turn 21. I will no longer be with you, for my life has run its course. On that day, 31 days from now, I have instructed my most trusted advisor to execute a document that will bequeath my home, my treasury, my estate, all that I possess to the good people of this land who have treated me with kindness all these years. This place, which has been a home together for these 21 years, will become a public trust. I will be well on my way to the next world, and the two of you will be set off to make your way in this one. Yet I do not wish to set foot on the journey empty handed. My last gift to you on the day of your departure will be a purse to finance your adventures. What goes into each purse is your choice. He reached both hands inside the box and then held them out to the boys. In one hand, he had a sheaf of 1,000 crisp new thousand bills, $1 million cash. In the other hand, he held a shiny new copper penny. If you take the million in cash, you may get it with you, or you may leave it in your purse for safekeeping. Until the day of your journey, your purse will be held by my treasury director. If you take the penny, you may also take it with you or leave it in your purse. However, if you choose the penny, my treasury director has instructions to double the contents of your purse every day. He took out another lacquer box, identical to the first, opened it, and took out another stack of 1,000 bills and another penny. Here is 1 million. Here is one penny. You have you each have the same choice to make. Whatever you do not take, I will turn to my treasury to add to my estate. Now go, rest and think. Tomorrow morning, come back and tell me your choice. All night, the first boy lay in bed thinking, what should I do? Which should I take? What is the lesson? The second boy lay awake too, but he asked himself different questions. He had made his decision before his father had finished the sentence. Now he is making careful plans for what to do for the next 31 days. When morning came, the second boy sprang into action. After securing the million in cash from his father, he hired a sharp consultant and a manager to help him execute his carefully wrought plan. They rented out a hotel suite in which they conducted exhaustive back to back interviews for the next 6 days. By week's end, they had hired a staff of the finest financial advisors in the land. The boys' new crackerjack money man team spent the second week in intensive round the clock brainstorming sessions, drafting proposal after proposal, seeking the smartest, most cost effective investment and leveraging strategies, both long term and short term, to help the wealthy man's son turn his millions into a genuine fortune. By week three, the best plans had been selected, winnowed, examined, combed, explored, game theoried, road tested, computer stimulated, and dissected. With all their I's dotted and all their T's crossed, the boys' advisors were locked and loaded and ready to rumble. Off they went into the battlefields of commerce and speculation. This boy spent the next few days keeping in close contact with his far flung financial team by telephone, but by midweek it seemed clear that they were well in hand and he was not needed. He decided to pay a visit to his brother, whom he had not seen since breakfast on the morning after that long and sleepless night. When he arrived at their home, he was shocked to hear his brother's account of the past few weeks. After that excited breakfast, the first boy had also paid a visit to his father, but without explaining why he announced that he had made the second choice. He had taken the penny, left in the purse, and then returned to his room and began reading from one of his favorite books. The second day, he visited again and allowed to peek into the purse. The shiny new penny had been joined by a companion. On the third day, he found four pennies. On the fourth, there were eight. On the fifth, 16, then 32. By the end of the week, just as his brother's ace financial team was assembling in the beautiful hotel suite for the first time, he had amassed a nest egg of 64 cents. By the end of week two, with nearly half the month gone, his piles of penny had swelled to just shy of $90, 81.92 to be exact. On the day his brother's financial team hit the streets and went out into the world ready to turn his millions into billions, his purse had not yet accumulated $100. He would not have been to purchase a decent dinner for two at a fine hotel where his brother's suite had been humming with action for 2 weeks. Now, a few days into the third week, the purse's content had grown a bit more. He now had $655 and 3 cents, he proudly pointed out, easily enough to sustain him on the road for a full week. But you poor sap, his brother cried on hearing his story. I can't believe you went for the penny. It's not too late. Visit our father. See if he will relent and give you your 1 million. Or if he insists in prorating the amount, then even just half the million. It's better than scrabbling by a few paltry hundred. And if he refuses, you've got to tell me, let me help. I can't stand the idea of you venturing out into the world with scarcely enough to feed yourself for a week. But the brother seemed unperturbed and wouldn't hear of it. Later that week, the wealthy man called his sons to him one more time and spent several hours with them, sharing memories and telling stories. They both left him in good spirits, though the second boy was secretly very worried about his brother's prospects. That night, the old man died peacefully in his sleep. Towards the end of week four, the second boy's top advisor brought him some worrisome news. The markets, it seemed, had gone a bit soft, taken a bit of tumble actually. The team had acted quickly and salvaged what they could, but their earlier rosier projections would most certainly need to be revised downward. The boy thanked them for their vigilance and waited fretting and anxious. At the close of the week, the team brought mixed news. Some investments had performed quite well, others had suffered. All in all, the boy had made a modest gain. Starting with his 1 million in cash, his team succeeded in parlaying that into nearly 1.5 million. Unfortunately, his expenses, including the commissions, tax, bills for the hotel suite, broker fees, and the rest, came to just over half a million. The boy had ended the month with just a little bit than he started. In a panic, he rushed to his brother to see how he had fared with his $66.55 and 36 cents, only to receive yet another shock. On day 28, his brother's purse of pennies had passed the $1 million mark. On day 29, 2.5 million mark. On day 30, it had doubled to more than 5 million. The boy who chose the penny had discovered the extraordinary power that some have called the eighth wonder of the world, the remarkable creative force of compound interest. And today, the boy who chose the penny was worth more than $10 million and 24 cents. A question. Two boys. Now, this is very thought provoking. So, those who really want a slight edge, think about it. Two boys, two frogs, two powerful choices, riches or poverty, life or death. You are making these same choices every day, every hour, and the choices you make are spreading out through your life just like the water hyacinth. You may not see the results today or tomorrow or even next year. In fact, by the time you do finally see the results, the process will probably be so far along that the surface of the pond will be completely covered. The question is, covered with what? Then the wealthy man spoke to his sons. The second boy thought he was offering them a choice of which money to take, but the first boy listened more carefully. He remembered that money was only the second gift. He understood that the choice was not whether to take penny or the sheaf of bills. The choice was whether or not to take the third gift, wisdom. The lesson was not about money, it was about wisdom. It was a lesson about compound interest, leverage, geometric progression, and growth. It was a lesson about the slight edge. The choice the wealthy man offered his two sons is the same choice the poor man offers his two daughters. Loneliness, loneliness,
Actually, there is no voice.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot to unmute. I'll read again. Thank you for the reminder. The choice the wealthy man offered his two sons is the same choice the world offers you. Every day, every hour, sickness or health, sinking poverty or abundant wealth, deepening loneliness and alienation, or a rich and growing circle of friends. The slight edge will be your guide to the wealthy man's third gift. It will help you learn habits of thoughts and actions that will allow you to choose the penny doubled every time. It will keep you paddling until your cream becomes butter. It will give you the power to choose what to plant in your life so that you will end up completely blanketing the surface of the pond with the blossoms of your choice. It leaves us a lot in thinking thoughts. So now that we have extended our session, just think about it and sleep tight and have a good night. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I shall see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. once again. Thank you so much.